A septic tank, you're in control of when you actually have to get it cleaned out, and therefore there's some responsibility that falls on you as the owner. But you can go ahead and price out how much a pump out would cost on a system like this, and say $600. You take that over 4 years and divide that out per month, you're coming in cheaper or about the same with a decent city sewer. Now what you don't have is you don't have all those employees' pensions, and you don't have all the cost of those trucks that they're all assuming, and rotting infrastructure because of all the building. So as they start failing on their systems, they're going to raise their price on everybody that has a sewer. Well, your septic system is your system, so you own it. You do have the responsibility of cleaning it out, but the cost shouldn't change any more than what the market's actually bearing for getting rid of it. So I guess you have to make your decision. Do you want to pay every month in the form of your sewer charge on your water bill, which is usually at least half? Or do you want to go ahead and control your septic system yourself? Which not everybody can have a septic system. So I would say a septic system gives you more independence, though there is a little bit more work that requires some planning and a little bit of discipline as an owner, versus just a call to the city, something's happened, come fix it. So my liking is you have maybe a little bit more control over your costs. So that's one thing. But if you do have a septic system, you don't want to put a lot of bleach down the drains or anything like that, because you're going to neutralize what is in the tank, and what is in the tank is a natural breakdown process that's occurring, much like if we were to take foliage and leaves and pile it up. It decomposes, turns back into soil. Well, in there you're taking food matter and everything that we eat, and it's breaking it back down into its basic nutrients, which is fertilizer. So at the very bottom layer you get a fertilizer. It is extremely rich, which is why you can start seeing water will cause a lot of the growth in the septic tanks, but there is a layer of that water, and then that sludge at the bottom, like I was telling you, and on the top about the amount of time that it takes things as they come out, toilet paper, various things, to settle down to the bottom of that tank. So when we talk about going in and putting in baffles or making changes, we're really just talking about making these little small corrections to get the system operating at the amount where you're not having all these problems that people are always a little weary of. So they're weary because they've heard a story about somebody's septic tank in the yard, and they don't understand. They could have called, had it pumped out, had that on a plan, and they wouldn't have that surprise. And when they have somebody that's actually there that knows what they're doing, when they look and pump out the tank, they're making sure that these baffles are in place like they've said they were, and making sure that the system works. But if everything is in, if a baffle's properly put in there, and you've got a system like this, as we're looking, where you have plenty of field area, where they properly planned the system at the beginning, you really shouldn't have any problems. But when you have one that wasn't properly planned at the beginning, that's why I say lean on the TDEC information, make sure it was all legitimately recorded, so that you don't just have to make any assumptions, and that everything has been built in like it was, for the amount of bedrooms, for the amount of bathrooms. If it was only approved for so many bedrooms and somebody's added a bathroom, if they added a garden tub instead of a regular tub, things that would cause overloading of the system would be running your laundry and taking big showers, where you're just putting so much water out here at once that it doesn't have time to, in essence, go down through the system. But that, there again, a good system should already be able to handle the bathrooms that are there for the approved house. So it's really just making sure what was put in was properly put in. They had a soil test done. They've already got all that approved. There's not any operating outside of what the advised rules are, or you'll find that a system, if it's built wrong to begin with, is going to just be problem after problem. So as long as they've given the amount that they need for the soil to absorb, they've approved that, and they're running it right, and we have it built right and maintain it, you're running it, it is yours, but you have the cost that you can manage yourself proactively. So the big thing on the sewer systems, the biggest thing is that cost has no end. And so I would tell people, look around at areas that are bigger than Nashville, bigger than our market. What were their sewer costs? What's LA's sewer cost? What's New York's sewer cost? Because those are older cities that, the model of like the cities are growing after that. How do they handle? And if you look, I bet you the graph will show, well, these people that worked in the water departments, their salaries have gone up 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 10%, however much they keep raising them. Well, that alone, they haven't gone back in and changed the pipe out. How many years was that put in the 60s? Right. So as we start to see all of that old stuff break and these other systems break, they don't think about it being their problem. They pick up the phone and they call the water department, we've got a major leak, come out here and fix it. It just doesn't mean they're not going to have to deal with the problem. It just means they're not going to be able to hand it off to somebody else to go manage the whole solution. So if they look out, they see a big leak in their backyard, they got to be on the phone and make those calls. But it's really nothing to be shy of. Good news with them. Generally, you're going to have a little more land because it requires more land. So if somebody likes land and they don't want to have neighbors all around, they don't want a traditional PUD, planned urban development type thing, and you've got 1 acre yard with a nice septic system, that cannot be cut down. That neighborhood has to be big enough for all those systems. So when they start looking and they say, well, I don't like septic, say, well, it's a trade-off. You've got the rural or a little bit more land, you can play on it, you can do all this stuff, but you have to have that in order to have your septic system. So not having a septic system allows builders to put more dense building in and sewers. So if it's a septic-based system, you're just not going to have that crowding in unless they come in and create like step systems and things like that for their subdivision. So in essence, they turn around and build a large septic tank that pumps back to the city, or they manage it that way in a step. So this particular one here is good, but that's what I would